Shoot for the moon, and welcome everybody to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast with Dylan and Akram. For today's episode, we are reviewing episode 6 of Hello Tomorrow, now out on Apple TV+. Akram, what were your thoughts on this episode?
It's a really dramatic episode. I think this is a turning point for many of the characters. I think this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of, okay, a lot of bad things are going to happen, so how do we get out of it? I think this episode was a notable highlight just because of that drama. It really is a turning point, I feel. But let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I think even like some of the subplots are kind of moving quickly now. We see like there's kind of like breaking between certain characters, especially between Joey and Jack. I think Joey is kind of realizing who Jack is. And this episode was a great exposition for Jack's character too, because the first couple minutes was we get a bit of Jack's background, and I think he delivered such Billy Crudup. I think he delivered such a great opening monologue.
Oh yeah, he's awesome, man, because again, we talked about this last time that he has to act like a liar while acting in general, and then he still stays in character. It's really interesting to see. He's always trying to, I guess he has that salesman face, and I think that's his protective barrier against just life trauma in general. That's his, and again, we were greeted by a beautiful flashback scene. It wasn't actually like we talked about last time where it's like, oh, someone's getting wrong. This time it was like the main character's getting wrong, and it was beautiful. And it really showed the psyche of Jack.
Yeah, and I think it really shows that Jack tried his best to have a normal and legit life. But as we see in the present day, we see that he's definitely more corrupt, I guess. And I think Joey is kind of seeing through his veil of lies and realizing that this isn't what he thought it was going to be, or at least the way that Jack pitched it to him. We see other characters in this episode too, like Herb. He's kind of having a fallout with his wife, or he's realizing, she's kind of lying to him too. There's so many lies in this episode.
All these lies. Yeah. I really love Herb. I mean, he's one of my favorite characters in this show. The wife too. I feel like they're a perfect match. They act the same, but he's always super jealous too. Everyone's trying to rise up, and who has me really worried is actually Eddie, because I always feel like he's gonna botch the business.
My God,
at any
Eddie.
moment. Oh my God, Eddie. We also get our characters like Lester and Myrtle. They're still trying to do their thing. Although I feel like now it's becoming tiresome, because it's like they're grinding away at something that doesn't really have edges anyway. So it's like, okay.
It's moving pretty slow for their plot, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what's the deal? It doesn't make sense too much too, because anyway, Jack is not working on the corporate level. They're just salesmen. So it's like, if you're gonna go after them, you're gonna go after the actual corporation, not those two. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but moving forward, what did you think about Joey's, like, from the last episode, we saw Joey was pretty hurt, and so Joey has this character change now where he feels like he's the man and he's gonna do his own things. He's more independent. So what do you think about Joey?
Yeah, he's kind of turning into his father in a way. He's become, I think now he's at the peak of his character, right? He's become a somebody as he wanted to be. But I think now that he's at that stage in his life and at that successful point in his life, I think now he's really realizing that the success that he's earned really isn't legitimate. And especially like the way like Jack is going about business too. And now he's realizing, Jack isn't the guy that he looked up to in the first episode, right? We see he does like get to meet Jack's mom a little bit, and there's some exposition as well, and he starts learning truths about not that Jack is his father, but he's starting to learn little by little that Jack is the wrong guy that he signed up for, right?
Yeah, and I love seeing that too, because it's like everybody else knows the truth except Joey. So it's a really delicate balance of just the stuff they say to Joey. But I always find it really funny the way how they do it, because Jack is the boss, aka the father, but he can't say that. And Barbara, the mother of Jack, is obviously the grandmother, but she, what's funny? They have a lot in common between Joey, Jack, and Barbara. They're very kind of sly with the way they do things. And I don't know, I kind of find that a little bit like cute too for some reason. But they get entangled by a web of lies too at the end of the day. So it sucks, but yeah.
Yeah, even learning, we learned a little bit of like Jack's father too in this episode, and I think it carries over into his character as well, and his kind of origin, why he became a salesman. And it's sad to see because he was a legitimate person in the beginning. I think he really tried to provide for his family. And there's a very tragic scene which I won't spoil, but Jack goes through like this hardship, and he kind of pulls himself out of that through this experience. And it was sad to see like now he's kind of losing all connection with his son. I think his son, which is sad because his son doesn't even know that he's his dad. So I think he would, be more sympathetic if he knew, right? But all he sees him as is his boss, right? This boss that just happens to do nice things for him. But yeah, I think Joey kind of now sees through that, and he's kind of learning that maybe this isn't the road for him, right?
Yeah, and he's always been on the fence too. Even back then, it was his mom that he was always worried about. We do get some insights. It was a flashback, but it looked like the salesman job for that company is pretty skitsy. It's like they probably had to stay back a couple of times too. I think to be honest with you, I think now in the flashback they look like that was a suck thing for Jack, but now it kind of seems like if anything goes wrong in the business, as long as he's with his son, and I think that's a crutch or an anchor. The thing is, Jack, again, he has a mask over him, and I feel like a lot of these characters have a mask over their faces. And this whole
Shirley, I feel like she has a mask as well.
Shirley, she's playing. I don't know what she's up to. I just feel like Shirley is the type of person you could depend on, and she knows her role in a way, and that's where she's more comfortable. She just always wants to lend a helping hand. And I think that's her weakness as well. At the end of the day, kind of Jack is taking advantage of people, whether he realizes it or not. And I think that's going to come to a head, of course, at the end, because it seems like, okay, now it's starting to escalate where there's just too many lies. So, yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of this episode, Jack has to make this business deal with the woman that he met at the party.
Right.
And it's supposed to eventually either bail them out, or they'll probably have to keep selling until they fix this problem. But yeah, what are your predictions for the next episode?
Now I'm kind of confused. I mean, Jack has, because there was like a big fight, and Jack has no choice but to talk to Elle. He has a plan to dig them out of this little crisis that they have. I think it won't go well, to be honest. I really do think that it's not going to go his way. And after that, I don't know what's going to happen. They're probably going to have to be on the run because they owe a lot of money too. But it's good to know that Elle, with just one deal, he said they could basically save this situation. But that's why I think it's not going to happen. So they're going to have to find it the harder way. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I wonder if next episode Joey will find out the truth about his dad. I wonder, because he's getting closer to Jack's mom, and it was kind of almost let slip, but not really. And he's finding out little like subtle hints. So I wonder if next episode maybe he'll start putting the pieces together and realizing, oh, this is more than just my boss, right?
Yeah. Well, we're reaching the end too, so it's only a matter of time unless they want to. Again, not too many people watch the show. A lot of people, like, it seems like there's not a lot of press, so I really don't know there will be a season 2. I hope they don't save all of this stuff for a hypothetical season 2. I hope they make it through, but I don't really know. It is kind of tiresome to keep the secret. It's kind of toxic too if you think about it. Like the situation, rip the Band-Aid off.
Getting slow, with the plot. I wish they would just like you said, rip the Band-Aid off. But there's fun moments in the show. I think the actors are believable, and I do love the world building. Although sometimes I wish they would push the future thing just a little bit more. Maybe talk about like consumerism or something, which they kind of do. But I think the future stuff happens in the background, right? It's not like in your face. It's supposed to complement these characters, right? And it's supposed to be like an exaggeration of like the 50s and 60s. But sometimes I wish they would just push it a little bit more. But it is fun to see like the different like inventions and the robots and stuff in this world. But overall, I thought it wasn't a bad episode. But if I had to rate, I'd probably get maybe 7 out of 10. How would you rate it?
I think I'll give it an 8. I really enjoyed the drama in this episode a lot more. It seems like things are starting to crumble. So it makes me interested what's going to happen next episode. I give it a solid 8. I think it's a fine episode for sure. But why don't you take us away?
Well, you heard it here, guys. That's our review for episode 6 of Hell Tomorrow. Check out our other reviews for Hell Tomorrow if you haven't already. Be sure to check out our other playlists and our other videos as well. We're still covering The Last of Us. We have one more episode. Akram's so sad to be wrapping up. But yeah, check out our other movie reviews as well. But yeah, thank you guys. And until then, thanks for having lunch with us.
See you guys.